Yo, guys, super excited for this show. We've got rockstar entrepreneur Yoav Vilner, Mr. CEO, Mr. Brand Builder, one of the best. I think Forbes made you the marketer to watch in 2017. Oh, you're old, man.
When I was still under 30 in. Now I'm under 30 in spirit.
That's awesome. Yafa, super excited to have my amazing superstar co-host next to me.
Excited to be here.
Yes. You're not asking us why we're wearing sunglasses.
Is he supposed to?
It's his job.
Yeah, guys, why do you have sunglasses on?
Thank you. Yafa?
Well, one of my conditions to being a podcast co-host was that we got to have themes every week. And this week's theme is, can you guess, Yoav?
Too hard, but I'll say Matrix.
Very
Oh,
good.
you're so smart. The
This
IQ.
week is The Matrix. Stay tuned because they're going to get crazier and crazier. That's that.
Amazing.
How are you doing, man?
I'm good.
Yeah,
How are you?
I think before the show, me and Yafa talked about what we're gonna talk about, and one of the things that was very easily mentioned in the conversation is your personal branding, the way you kind of lead a strong founder-led brand, and everyone that hears and knows about the companies that you represent think about you, and vice versa. So. How did you do that?
I just want to say before you start talking that this is the first time I'm meeting Yoav, and I really felt like I knew you before I met you because I've been following you on LinkedIn for so many years and really feeling like I know you, not just one of those CEOs that post only, draw posts about their product, but the kind of personal brand where you actually get to feel like you know the person, like you connect with the human. And I think that's a personal brand done right. So it is lovely to meet you. And as he said, we would love to hear the story about, how you thought about putting the effort into your founder-led branding before it was the popular thing to do.
Yeah, it's a thing now, right?
Now it's a thing. It's a business.
It's a whole category.
Right.
Hence, I have a job.
Yeah. So I think, I started doing things that combine like tech and startups and marketing a little bit before it was cool. So 13, 14 years ago. And the startup scene was really small back then. And marketing talent was really non-existent in Israel. And for many startups, it was really hard to kind of, push forward in terms of from 0 to 1 in terms of marketing. In the same time, social networks, they were also a bit less crowded and more unique than what they are now. So when you posted something on LinkedIn a decade ago, you were, like one of the only ones.
Were you on LinkedIn a decade ago?
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah. Would you believe? But it wasn't that active a decade ago. But I was alive and breathing and had LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram and everything. But the more that I gradually over the years started to kind of push content that was about the things that I was building, the more that I saw the audience starting to build up and great things happen. And of course, the big viral thing that happened was, of course, a lot of marketing activities we did in my last company around Walnut that approached salespeople. And
I remember those videos. That was like one of the times where you saw a company like break that wall and really just touch on humor. And I mean, I don't think anyone can forget those campaigns.
Yeah. So they went really crazy. And what I did as a founder was not really talk about our clients or, how amazing we are or even not the technology that we're building. What I did was talking about what we wanted to change in the world. And we illustrated it with a video for the first time about 4 years ago. And then it was a big hit. And every video or piece of content we did afterwards was even bigger. And it was all organic. And it was, conferences around the world were kind of showing it on their main stages. And according to LinkedIn, around 1,000 tech companies have also took inspiration from some of the ads that we are doing and everything. So it was part of us because we had to build a category around a product that did not exist.
You
so
have to educate your market.
Yeah. So we had to be kind of loud. As a founder, I believe that I had to kind of show expertise around, why it's us, why it's me, why it's, we are the ones that need to kind of release such content. And it just invented a whole industry in tech. So it was an amazing experience.
It's pretty cool that you can say that you accomplished all of that.
Yeah.
I think it's not very often that you have a CEO that's so clocked into marketing. I feel like a lot of CEOs have that kind of disconnect. I've seen it with like the marketing teams, and it seems like you are a natural marketer. Did you ever have a role as a marketer? Like how do you have such great marketing instincts?
So it started so it started back then. It was around building a company that was supposed to do marketing for startups. And I was right after the army. I was super young and I didn't know marketing or startups, but me and a friend, we just kind of freelanced and we looked for a couple of startups to work with, and some of them are unicorn companies now, but back then they raised like 1 or 2 million. And we just told them, we will do all of your marketing activities and it will be super cheap. And our entire goal in life was just to kind of not having to work to get that salary, but just doing it freelance. And this was the ambition. But because the timing was so good and the activities were really good, so it actually grew to a company that had about 700 clients. And it was the first company in Tel Aviv to do like marketing for startups.
Wow. Now, like, as you mentioned, it's kind of saturated the marketing space now.
Yeah, it is.
But there is several strong players that are kind of dominating.
Can you name?
So, when I look at it practically, what do you think are the actual benefits of founder-led marketing, founder-led branding? Like, what is like a tangible ROI of basically having a CEO who has a very high profile and knows and believes in marketing?
I've actually never seen such ROI for an activity that, it's not expensive. It's not like people sometimes invest millions of dollars in PPC for something, but this is real, it's growing an actual audience, getting hundreds of thousands of followers that, it's people that might want to work with you in the future. It's people that you might employ. It's people that might invest in stuff that you do. It's prospects, it's clients, it's like colleagues. It's actual, it's not just bullshit on Instagram where you get 1 million likes for posting a cake.
Right.
It's an actual professional thing, and I think this is why so many founders are now approaching it. And it's really hard to start with, right? The first post that a founder would do for the first time on LinkedIn, it would be crickets, and there would be like three likes, and they would feel super awkward. But then they have to keep pushing and they have to start posting things that are about their industry. It's really slow. It's like people that try to do it like, on the spot and pay for everything and then promote it. It's not tangible for many years. And again, I've never seen so much, and I know from other founders as well, if they really invest time in it, it's like super, super profitable.
I just love I love everything you just said, because I think that you touched on so many good points. I think and this is kind of my catchphrase, people don't connect with logos, they connect with people. And as a leader of a company who doesn't only have the audience that is your customers, you have audience that is investors, you have audience that are partners. So, to touch on all these audiences in such a real authentic way that when they sit with you, they actually really feel invested in you, the CEO, not just kind of, although I will say your company Walnut also has developed its own really cool kind of character, and that's not a very common thing. But I think, and also another thing you said that I really relate to, and I work with VCs, but there's always this hesitation about that first post, What if I only get like 2 likes, 3 likes? And I think, just committing to it and knowing that it's about consistency and it's about, it grows. And I always say to my clients, you're going to obsess about that post that got 3 likes. No one is going to remember. They're going to scroll past it. They're going to forget about it in 2 seconds. So I think that you kind of hit the nail on the head with everything you just said.
Yeah.
How do you, when you kind of approach this post, like when you, let's say it's a LinkedIn post or a Twitter X post, and you have so many different kind of people that you're that you have relationships with, if it's investors, clients, employees, how do you make sure that you're being authentic while also not kind of damaging some relationships, right? I don't mean you kind of talked about it personally about like being politically correct versus like being more professional or kind of like finding that balance. And I'm really interested about like, what's your take on that?
Yeah. You know, the more that your role is like,
In the public?
yeah, it's like, you know, more people notice you, you have more obligations to people, you have more commitments, you have, you know, it's a place where you have to be a little bit more toned down. We see people kind of not being toned down in that place. Sometimes it's never good. So
I mean, Yafa is pretty ridiculous what she writes on LinkedIn. She's all over the place.
Very toned down. But I think it's about striking that balance. Like you can be careful, but still be vulnerable. I think that's kind of where you want to be.
Yeah. I think that the best mixture is kind of, you know, you write about successes, but you don't mind, you know, publishing things about when things don't really go well to start with. And the audience really loves it. It's like it builds, you know, they trust you. It's like it shows that you're transparent. And some founders that I know have even gone to the extreme side of they had really successful companies, but they only post things about, you know, their emotional roller coasters, and they have columns in newspapers about the bad things in building companies and everything. I think that's maybe a bit also extreme to the other end. But if you're kind of in between and people trust your, you know, your communication style,
right,
they're going to be there when you post a bit more professional stuff. And like you said, that you feel that you knew me from my LinkedIn presence. So it happens to me with a lot of people. It's like
I always say it's a warm intro on steroids, because you can sit in a meeting with anyone and they feel, and you have that, you know, that kind of step up because they feel like they know you and they're invested in you.
Yeah.
It's huge.
So in my last companies, it was amazing. And it's also, it's like it scales without proportion. Like, you know, if you're a good brand on LinkedIn notices you and a lot of things happen. Like you win stuff. You're listed in their all kinds of research papers and listicles and everything. Everything happens. Like clients reach out, prospects reach out to you. Everybody tells you, how did you guys do this? And how much did it cost you to be doing that? And it's just all organic. You're
building in public. So, you know, as opposed to people that aren't talking about their success and their failures, if you're not talking about it, then no one knows to ask you about it. So you're giving people topics to talk to you about.
Right.
It's really powerful.
Right.
One thing that I remember you writing about is about this whole dynamic between being the first like angel investor in a company, right? There was like a very viral LinkedIn post that you made, and you're also an angel investor, and you also are on the other hand of someone who received like an angel angel
gets the full perspective.
Yeah, he has the full perspective of this kind of marketplace. How impactful it is to be the first guy in the cap table, or to be the second guy in the cap table, and do you have any tips on how people who want to start investing in startups, maybe not a big amount, but maybe certain like a small targeted amount, can do that?
Yeah. So there's a few companies where I'm involved as an angel investor or as an advisory board role. Being the first one in, it's like, it really means that the founders, you know, talk to you in specific. It's like, it's really meaningful.
It's like strategic, right? They're not going to let someone be the first investor without feeling like they'll get value from you, I'm assuming.
Right. When founders raise a lot of money, so, you know, they have like the first couple of angel investors, and then hopefully if the company succeeds, there's dozens and dozens, and everything just kind of gets, you know, loud and noisy, and people get lost in kind of. But the first couple of people that you bring in as advisors or investors, that's kind of the biggest relationship probably that's going to be taking place in the company. You probably need to know, like, have a network of you need to have a way of people reaching out to you, and you need to have a network of people referring deals to you. It's unlike VCs where there's maybe like, let's say 200 in Israel and you go to their websites and you ask for intros. Private investors are always like more kind of,
Scattered.
yeah, it's really hard to get to everyone.
Behind the scenes.
Yeah. There's groups of people in all kinds of landscapes and industry that only do it together as a group. So that requires more efforts and research and time.
Right.
Yeah. And the way to start with it is, first of all, to be careful because, it's like 90% chances that the money is lost. So it's not for everyone.
Also be patient.
Yeah.
Because it takes a lot of time. It's not like you're investing in a stock.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the easiest ways to do it technically is people go to like AngelList and join syndicates. There's syndicates on AngelList by the top founders and investors in the world, and you just kind of join in their investments and you can write really small checks. But also then it's not going to explode like 100x and everything happens. It has to grow over time. If a company really succeeds, there's a little bit of a multiple. Sometimes there's also tax on whatever. So
it's a lot that goes into it. And I also feel like you're not going to get into a round as an angel investor if you haven't developed the skills that the founder wants and needs, right? If anyone, why would they allow you into as one of their first investors if you don't have transferable skills?
Right.
It's like there's this, I forgot who said that, but someone said, like there's a famous quote. I hate that I don't remember the person who said it, but he said something along the lines of, I would never want to go to a party that I've been invited to. Something like that, right? So, for example, like it's like in real estate where someone is like people are coming to you to, hey, there's like this great real estate that you should buy. But why are you coming to me? If it's so great, people should be coming to you, right?
Hard to get into.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like the same thing. Like if someone comes to you as an angel investor and you're not like working or pushing to get into that round, there's this kind of dynamic.
Right.
And by the way, there's a lot of those type of dynamics in tech, especially right now, especially in the last few years where there was kind of like a vibe shift. I remember in 2021, there were entrepreneurs who raised, easily, really easily. I'm not talking about you. You guys actually did have a great business model aligned, but
great investors too.
And great investors too. But there was a lot of entrepreneurs who I can't believe they've managed to raise, not both because I probably don't really believe in what they do, and also because I don't know how many experience they had. So, and now it seems like the cards are in the VC's hands again.
There's always these power shifts. I've worked in VC for a while now, and I've kind of seen this power dynamic as it turns back and forth. And I think the best place, right, is for it to be somewhere in the middle because, either way, I mean, I'm always a proponent of the power being in the founder's hands because at the end of the day, they're the builders. They're the ones that, that everyone's world should revolve around, and also LPs in a way. At the end of the day, VCs are the intermediaries. But I've seen this power dynamic shift all the time, and I'm sure you've seen it up close and personal when you were raising and that whole period.
Yeah.
Where is it now? Would you say it's in the VC's hands again?
In most industries, definitely. Like, there's a couple of very specific industries and landscapes that are lucky enough to be kind of out of the scope for the whole crisis that's been going on, like financially and in the markets.
Like cybersecurity?
In Israel, cybersecurity,
defense tech, I guess.
Yeah. And in San Francisco, in the US, it's kind of, foundational AI models that's going crazy. All kinds of locations have their,
the niche.
So in a good period for tech, everything is fine. Like you said, it happened a couple of years ago, and it happens like every many years. It has been on the low for over 2 years now, and of course we're seeing the effects. Like a lot of companies shut down, a lot of companies lay people off, and VCs shut down, and VC partners leave their job, and everything's just kind of going completely crazy because 3 years of a crisis, it's like, it's a lot.
Long time.
I think in Israel, there's a lot of, amazing talent in type of technologies that is really let's say, like you said, like with cyber, there's, amazing fintech companies, there's amazing consumer companies. Like we try to build products that people really need. And then hopefully even in crazy downturns like now, people still need it. But otherwise our industry would be in a, I don't want to think about it.
Right.
What do you think about the recent elections? A lot of people saying that since Trump, which I'm a fan of, and I have no problem being on the record saying that, is they're saying that there's going to be a lot of more M&As coming in because they're basically the regulations will be much easier, and already we're starting to see some of the effects of that.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I think the biggest thing that needs to happen in the US is cutting the interest rates, because that what has turned 2021 to be a better year for raising money.
Let's explain this for the audience for a sec, because when the interest rates are up, people prefer to put the money in more safer kind of bets instead of
it's hard for VCs to call the money from the LPs, and the LPs are more strict on if they even invest in VCs, and it's a horrible.
People don't want to take risks when there's no stability.
Yeah, it's a horrible risk, and the public markets, multiples crash to like 3x, 4x. There's even one huge company that's 1x of their revenues.
That's pretty interesting, because the public markets in 2004 it was a strong bull market, and it wasn't correlated with the private sector.
Right.
People said that it's because a lot of analysts say, and a lot of people that were in this show and we talked about, they said it because there was no way out for lots of those startups. So if the startup wasn't strong enough to be an IPO, it was very difficult to get a merger or an acquisition, and the LPs didn't get any exits and liquidity.
Well, that's why the secondaries are also playing a much bigger role these days.
Yeah.
And they're very important to the ecosystem.
Right. At crazy discounts, but it's better than nothing.
Depends.
Yeah. I think the main thing probably the new leaders in the US will do, they're working really hard to connect big tech people to the government. So
you've seen that.
Yeah, they assign.
You could see at the inauguration, it was like all the tech guys were sitting right behind him.
So they assign people that were executives in A16Z or Twitter or Facebook or Google, or really hardcore tech people. They assign them executive roles in the White House, and they're gonna be connecting the government and tech. Hopefully that creates a better reality for fundraising and everything.
Right.
I think Trump has in mind all kinds of plans to try and affect the interest rates. He cannot do it like straightforward, but he can go in that direction in all kinds of other ways. And there's also a lot of talk about companies approaching investment bankers to IPO next year or later this year.
I think there's consensus that we're starting to enter a little bit, like the IPO window is slowly starting to open soft. We've definitely seen more M&As happen in the past
100%
few months.
Exactly. But we're not, it's interesting because like you had, I think it was probably in 21, 22, you had some of those like SPAC deals, right?
They didn't do so.
They didn't do well. They didn't do well at all, and now you're not seeing any of that kind of hacks, right? So you only have the option to basically sell, and we're seeing that in cyber, and we're seeing that with like companies like Quack or Nintendo, both of our clients who got sold to JFrog and American Express. And the thing is, you need to be careful because in this ecosystem, you need to make sure that you're in a vertical where that multiplier on your valuation makes sense, both for the founder and the investors.
Right. It has been on an all-time low in the last couple of years. It's never going to be a tech bubble thing again, but hopefully after the new government in the US settles in with the new rules and regulations that benefit tech, hopefully it's going to be somewhere in the middle, because VCs and LPs and founders don't want to work for a 5x or a 6x multiple on their company's revenues. If it's what it is, it's what it is, and only the companies with 100 million revenues can survive. Even then, they can only survive if they're, amazingly lean and profitable and everything is efficient, which is really hard to do for startup companies. So
I want to shift this conversation a bit because we're speaking to a rockstar CEO, and all we're talking about is this heavy stuff.
You want to talk about heavy metal?
Yes. I know you manage, I'm sorry for the plot shift, but you manage to both be a very successful CEO and have a laugh outside of work. So I would love to firstly ask you this is what Omri told me, what kind of hobbies you do outside of work? And secondly, how do you have time running a business to actually also invest in yourself, which is, I think even me, I don't have a startup. I started an independent business and I barely have time to breathe. So I would love some advice on how to do that, which is so very important for, mental health and sustainable success.
Yeah. I think it's impossible to be building out a company without having those hobbies. It's not, I don't see it as an option. So yeah.
What are your hobbies? Let's start there.
Right. So I have a few.
Okay.
One of them would be around music, and I play guitar, and we actually had a little founder band for many years that we were doing all kinds of songs, and I was the guitarist of that. And
founder brand guy has a founder band.
Rockstar.
Yeah, it's not a typo, it's a founder band. And we had a lot of fun. We performed live in all kinds of venues.
Amazing.
And I was the guitarist for that. But I also play keyboards and drums and a couple of other stuff. And then all kinds of sports that are just, I try to diversify between all kinds of activities. But before, after a work day, it's kind of, that's the only way that I can handle everything.
Wow.
And I really recommend everyone to also do it.
You also do some painting.
I paint a little bit.
I also paint.
You
a little
paint?
bit. I do.
You probably paint better than me.
You're a pretty talented painter, right?
We can compare. You can be the judge.
Yeah, we'll do a competition.
What about the stress management? You talked about exercising. I know you exercise daily in the mornings. You go to the gym. What about mindfulness and those kind of stuff?
Yeah.
You do that?
I also do it.
How? When? How much?
Sometimes later in the day. So it's people usually recommend it for a morning thing to kind of start your day. I prefer to start with something a bit more aggressive. But end of the day or end of the week, I think mindfulness is amazing. And
what does that mean to you? What does mindfulness mean to you?
It's just kind of zooming out for 10 minutes or 20 minutes and completely ignore all the crazy, that highway that you have going on in your head and just kind of breathe for a minute. And
that's easier. I mean, that's much harder to do than it sounds.
Right.
I feel like you say, okay, zoning out for 20 minutes, that sounds nice. But I've tried mindfulness and it is some of the hardest practice. So did you have to practice to get to a point where it becomes something consistent in your life?
Yeah. It's been many, many years. It's
You do it daily?
No, I wish. I used to do it daily. But no, it's kind of a couple of times a week. And I studied it in some format 10 years ago. And then I just kept practicing. Eventually you get to a point where you can do it even when you're kind of, I don't know, riding a scooter or walking in the park or jogging or doing dishes. It's everywhere. You just kind of implement it in a lot of ways. You just you try to zoom out and you try not to judge your busy mind and just kind of let everything go. And it's pretty amazing. It's like smoking something.
Oh, okay. I got to get into this.
Smoking something?
Smoking something.
The mindfulness. Maybe we should start our podcast with 3 minutes of mindfulness going forward. It's not a bad idea.
You would get a lot of viewers.
We'll just be sitting here, zoning out. Very nice.
You were about to say something?
No, I was being mindful.
Yoav, I have actually a question for you.
Okay.
Can I ask? Do I have the permission?
I don't know. It depends on the question.
Okay. You work with a lot of high-profile VCs. They're pretty stressed out because they have so many things. They're not in their direct control, right? One of them is you're not in direct control of how a company runs, right? Because that's the founder's job. And if they're a good VC, they try to help, but only help and not try to be too aggressive.
Right.
On the other side, they have LPs, like you mentioned before, kind of breathing down their necks. And on the third thing, you have the whole market, how the market views a specific vertical. And you could be, for example, I could be investing in a cybersecurity startup tomorrow because it's a very hot vertical. And in 3 months or 6 months or even in 2 years, people decide that this vertical is saturated. Multiple in that specific vertical is, X4, X5 on their ARR, and it doesn't make sense anymore. And there's nothing you can do about it as a VC. What do you, when you kind of write their content and kind of produce their content and work with them and meet with them, how do they kind of think about this? How do they manage their stress? And how do they try to kind of reflect that in the thought leadership in a sense?
It's a loaded question. A few things. Firstly, 99% of the VCs I work with, in a similar way to you, are very disciplined about having, other things they do outside of just the work. So, they start off with the gym, they prioritize family. The most successful people I work with are very mindful about keeping their stress down in healthy ways, number one. Number two, the best VCs, and all my clients are the best VCs.
Of course.
They're not FOMO investors, so they're not running after trends. They have very specific theses that they stick to and that they invest in, number one. And number two, and I hate to say founder friendly, like I want to roll my eyes at myself because it's so overused, but all of my, and I tell you, I'm not just saying all of my clients, but I'm very grateful to have amazing clients and to get to pick, to an extent, my clients. I'm selective. Yeah. And they really are, at an early, I work with early stage, growth stage, but at the early stage, and I mean, this, it's about the founder more than anything else, because everything else can pivot. So they're really investing in solid people. They're doing pattern recognition, and it's less about, going with the trends, but it's more about like a thesis at growth stage, and at the early stage, it's about the people. So I think that's a few ways they, number one, handle stress, and number two, don't fall into those kind of bad decision making. Is my answer.
That's a great answer. And do you feel they're competitive as much as entrepreneurs in a sense? Like, do VCs compete? I have a job because VCs are and should be competing for the best founders. And like I always say, I think founders, you guys are the main thing. You're the reason that a VC has a job, not the other way around. So I think there is and should always be competition around the best founders. And that's also, what I do in terms of helping them develop their brand to win those amazing founders, as well as LPs. But I mean, as both an angel investor and a founder, you can kind of agree or disagree with everything that I'm saying.
Yeah, no, a lot of, I think something that makes the Israeli ecosystem unique, and I lived in London for a bit, I lived in New York, like I saw all kinds of other...
the Caribbeans.
Yeah, but that was before tech entered my life. A whole other conversation.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's for our mindfulness ceremony.
But Israelis, they really try to show value and help each other. Mm-hmm. It's no problem for any new founder to meet someone that has $1 billion business here. Everybody's super friendly. There's no, sometimes there's ego, but it's not in those places. Like people are helping each other out, and investors try to show value. And like you said, don't destroy the company and try to be there for founders, even if it's an angel investor or VC or whatever. Founders do warm intros to other founders sometimes. If they don't even know them.
100%. I think it's something so beautiful about our ecosystem is that there is, and I was giving a session last night for Miluimnikim that have small businesses, and I said to them, they were asking, how do I get into this? How do I reach this person? I said, just ask. People are happy to help in this country. People really want to help other people. And I think it's a very, very unique thing about Israel, and why we love it here so much.
Yeah. We're like a walk-in ad for Israel.
I know, right?
Yeah.
By the way, this is actually quite interesting because you had the chance to move out of Israel several times. You could be easily relocated to SF or to New York or to basically those two places, or Miami maybe, and you didn't. And, you told me you love Tel Aviv. You just love it. And I wonder why that is. I know we talked a lot about it right now, but is there anything specific that you love here?
You.
That's what I'm trying to.
You guys.
Thank you. That's all I'm asking.
It's you guys and this podcast and the sunglasses. No, it's kind of, it's a really strong and really powerful founder ecosystem. Founders in Israel are all very, very close. And, it's like a huge group of people that are supportive, and there's endless WhatsApp groups of all kinds of types of founder channels, and everybody's helping out. I think on the investor side, again, there's a lot of help and support in between investors. They have their channels, their groups of, sharing knowledge or helping out. In the last year specifically, when people that work in tech coming back from the army, everybody's helping out. When people need things, everybody's helping out. So, founder needs to choose their location according to the business needs. Mm-hmm. But sometimes, companies operate like remote and globally, and you have VPs and executive people in the US, and everything plays out.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I worked at Mindset, as I said, for a bit. Huge global company, both co-founders very much in Israel, and it works. And I think, it's a village here. It's a beautiful thing. And we saw that this year. I mean, crazy the amount of companies, VCs, individuals who rally together to support the country.
Who's kind of your role models as entrepreneurs? Is there anyone you kind of look up to in a sense?
I never had one big, name.
I think you don't model yourself over entrepreneur.
He models himself after rock stars.
After Mick Jagger. You saw the article?
Which one?
There was an article.
About him and Mick Jagger?
Yes. I think it was last year, LA Wire.
Of course I remember this.
The rockstar, the
yes.
pop, it was
11
pop founder.
Yeah,
I remember seeing this.
They made LA Wire made a whole new kind of category called the pop founder, which is basically the same like rockstar entrepreneur in a sense, and they had Yoav on the list.
Yeah.
How did that make you feel?
Yeah.
I don't know. I was listed in a lot of things in those 5 years in this role. So
he's in the FBI list as well. Wanted.
Watching you.
Yeah, they're watching.
Founders to watch.
Yeah, to watch. The creepy type of watch. Everybody stalk them.
That's great.
I look up to. I think maybe it's funny that you say, but I think there's more people that I have in mind that built industries in rock and in music as role models. I appreciate any founder, and I appreciate people that build billion-dollar companies because they did something insanely difficult, mm-hmm. and they probably had every nature force to kill their companies, and mm-hmm. somehow everything just managed, and they're very skilled. So I don't have a name of one founder that I think is the only one that's really good. It's a lot, but I also look at templates of people in other industries and in music and in whatever art, and that have kind of invented their own landscape.
You can innovate in any sector. It doesn't have to be. Innovation isn't exclusive to tech.
Yeah.
And I think getting inspiration from other places is actually kind of brings fresh energy probably to your approach.
Yep.
And you're probably happy because Oasis are doing a reunion.
Yeah.
Your favorite rock star is?
Liam Gallagher. He's my guy.
Yeah, it's you're actually friends with his brother, no?
Yeah. I'm rude to the level of many, many years ago reaching out, like they have a third brother, like okay. Noel and Liam. And nobody knows him, but he's kind of a DJ and he's also a photographer for Liam's shows. And they are all on the Liam side because Noel was kind of, he split from the family. Uh-huh. But he's kind of approachable. And I texted him many years ago and we talked about why not come to Israel. And we talked about their fight, like their brother fight.
Yeah. So you have some inside information over there.
I do.
You're not going to share it now.
I will never share it.
Some funny text.
Maybe for a few tickets.
Ooh, okay. Okay.
I would love to see that show.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So what are you working on right now?
Right now?
Yes.
Right now, I am...
I'm already seeing the headline. I'm already seeing the headline.
I'm helping the companies that I'm involved with.
Yes.
Meeting a lot of great people and taking my time and playing music.
Beautiful.
What vertical do you think you're going to get into next?
In the future?
The next company.
Probably something that I think I will have value to add, and with the right people and everything, if everything aligns, then I will go for it again.
Have you started dating again?
In what sense?
Personal dating. I mean,
Professional dating?
Yes, founder dating. Yeah.
I'm not there. No. Yeah,
Great.
I'm gonna take my time.
Awesome.
Beautiful. We covered a lot.
We did.
I
cover
feel
a
like
lot.
we've been. How many topics did we cover? We got rockstar.
22.
22. Keeping track.
Awesome. So people, thank you so much for like catching this episode. You can follow Yoav on LinkedIn. Yafa
You should. You
on
probably
LinkedIn.
already are following you on LinkedIn.
Yafa, please follow her only on Instagram.
Please don't follow me on Instagram. LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. Oh, sorry. LinkedIn, I mean. And with me, you can follow me everywhere.
Everywhere. On the street.
Yeah. Yoav, thank you so much, my man.
Thanks, guys.
This was really great. It was lovely to meet you in person.
Likewise.
Any last words on
Bye.
this podcast?
No.
We want you to be on the podcast when the new... Did we mention there's going to be a new album?
No.
There might not be a new album.
Are
But
we
if...
still-
No idea what you're talking about.
No idea what I'm talking about. But if in some retrospect there
it's
is...
late, guys. It's the end of the
It's,
week.
yeah, I'm
We're
tired.
starting to babble.
Yeah, we need to... We're going to Europe. I mean, you're going to the US.
I'm going to a
going
lot
to
of
Europe.
places.
Yeah. Do you mind? Whatever. Guys,
Goodbye.
the Army and Yafa podcast. Let's go.
Bye.
Bye-bye.